So the victims of Vladimir Putin's completely absurd decision to invade Ukraine are piling up. And some of those victims are Russian. And there is an incredible bit of news because it's so predictable. This was exactly what many people started asking about when the Russian forces dug in near Chernobyl in Ukraine. Russian troops are suffering acute radiation sickness after digging trenches at Chernobyl. Several hundred Russian troops reportedly rushed to a special medical facility in Belarus after digging in radioactive soil in a forest near the infamous nuclear plant. This is not about the real victims or the Russians. No. The primary and obvious real victims are all of the Ukrainians and the civilians and the children and all of the different people in Ukraine who have suffered and been killed at the hands of this authoritarian madman. But it's also a reminder, Putin is very much like Trump in that he really only cares about people to the extent that they're useful to him. And as individuals, these Russian troops are not really useful to him in terms of, do they get radiation poisoning? What are we sending them into? That doesn't matter. What matters is, are they useful to me in achieving my foreign policy goals? And at least for a period of time, Putin believed that that was going to be accomplished by sending troops in, including to places rife with radiation. Now, for people who don't know the backstory about Chernobyl, Chernobyl was this nuclear disaster. It was a nuclear accident, and it happened in 1986 at one of the reactors at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine. And this is considered the worst nuclear disaster in history in terms of number of casualties, as well as in terms of the financial cost. And there's only been two nuclear energy accidents in history rated at a 7, which is the highest level of severity on what's called the nuclear event scale. The other was the Fukushima disaster in Japan a little over 10 years ago. So Chernobyl and Fukushima are the only two level 7 disasters. And it is still an extremely radioactive area. And troops just hanging out there, quite literally digging in the trenches, and now all suffering from radiation sickness, or what might be called radiation poisoning. The Daily Beast reports the troops who reportedly dug trenches in a contaminated red forest near the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history are now being treated in a special medical facility in Gomel, Belarus. The forest is so named because of thousands of pine trees that turned red during the nuclear disaster. The area is considered so highly toxic that not even highly specialized Chernobyl workers are allowed to enter the zone. Local reports suggest 7 buses with the zapped troops arrived in Gomel earlier Thursday. Journalists on the ground have also reported ghost buses of dead soldiers being transported from Belarus to Russia under the cover of dark. I can't help but imagine how when every time something bad happens to the Russian army because of either their own incompetence or just the irrational and irresponsible nature of what they're being directed to do by Putin and Putin's generals, Putin is certainly giving some different story to his people in Russia. It must be Ukraine's fault. It's the West's fault. It's this, that, the other hand. This nuclear poisoning, radiation poisoning episode is emblematic of the entire invasion of Ukraine. A bad idea from the start, stupid and unnecessary, and complete and total disregard for life, whether it's Ukrainian life or Russian life, just complete and total disregard for life. And that's sort of like the doctrine of the Russian military. Let's just throw bodies at a problem, and either the problem will go away or the bodies will go away. And at least recently, there's a lot of bodies here that are going away. Absolutely horrible. And again, this is not to take the idea here is not, oh, the poor Russian troops, although it is. I mean, the truth is a lot of these Russian troops now know they were lied to about even the context into which they were being sent. They were lied to about the mission. They were lied to about why they were going to Ukraine. In a sense, they are, many of them kids, 19, 18 years old, victims of disinformation propaganda. That is an aspect of this. But really the story is not to say who has been more victimized. It's obviously been Ukraine. It's the sheer disregard for human life and safety that is the status quo of the decisions made by Putin and his generals. I don't know how much longer it's going to go. Yesterday on the bonus show, we had a longer conversation about the supposed withdrawal from Kyiv, which Russians are saying, oh, we're doing that in order to foster good faith peace talks. At the same time, as the troops on the ground withdrew from Kyiv, the amount of air bombardment increased. So it may have been as simple as Russia getting some of its people out of harm's way before increasing the bombing. We really don't know what's going on, and we're going to continue covering the story, of course. One of our sponsors is Cometeer Coffee. Cometeer Coffee is delicious, I can tell you firsthand, and they've discovered the best way to brew, preserve, and deliver coffee. Their brewing process captures over 2,000 flavor compounds. Then the coffee is flash frozen, locking in the flavor. It arrives at your home frozen in a fully recyclable capsule. All you have to do is melt it by adding hot water or cold water for iced coffee. It takes seconds. It's the most convenient way that I have ever made coffee. I've been impressed with how the process protects the flavor. I really enjoy Cometeer. They have a variety of flavor options: light, medium, and dark, single origin, and blended coffee roasts from the best specialty roasters. You'll get $20 off when you go to cometeer.com/Pacman. The link is underneath this video.